Hello and welcome everyone in another episode of Researcher Celebrity. Today we have Dr. Janani with us. A brief about Dr. Janani. She has done her bachelor's in BTech and then master's MTech, bachelor's in biotech from Anna University, Chennai. For master's, she joined genetic engineering as her field of interest and pursued this degree at SRM University. Then she started working in IVF centers and she got her certification for level 2 genetic counselor. Followed her passion or exploration for PhD, I'll say. She started her PhD journey in SRM Institute of Science and Technology and accomplished successfully. Presently, she is heading the startup named as GeneAura Private Limited. And with this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. Janani at the platform. Thank you, Dr. Janani.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
So we start our conversation that how and when you decided that you wanted to be a researcher.
Okay. So like you just rightly said, post my MTech, I had joined an IVF lab as an embryologist. I was working there. Um, uh, my role was dual. I was post the lab work, after the embryology lab work, I still kept doing a lot of research. But one major concern where it struck me, more research I might be able to contribute is when I saw PCOS women there. So the journey of infertility is very difficult per se, and being in the Indian society, it's even more difficult. An infertile couple is not taken very lightly as far as Indian society is concerned, and that's when they start seeking help. And then when you're trying to help people, the most difficult person to help was women with polycystic ovarian syndrome. So that's when I thought, we might have to start, I can do some research or contribute to the disorder, or, just try to help those women in any way possible. And then when I started doing my research, it came as a shock. Two things. One, the prevalence was very high. So when I started research, that is when in 2015, the prevalence was 1 in 20 women. Currently, it's 1 in 6. Yeah. So the prevalence 1 in 20 itself was high. Second thing was that there was no proper management or proper medications towards PCOS, since there was no identified pathology given to it in 2015. So that's when I started my research. When this was actually constantly nagging, and then when I proposed this idea to one of the mentors, and she was happy to take me in. And also I had a maternity break, so we have a lot of funds from the Indian government who supports women who wants to come back to the mainstream after a career break. So it just fell in place, and then I was able to pursue my the intention of helping the PCOS women. And that's when it triggered. That's the spark, the working phase when I was in the IVF lab was the spark. When I saw there was an issue in the society and I could contribute to it, then I thought I should do it.
Nice. So you had a motivation, clear-cut motivation to pursue a PhD. So after your enrollment into PhD, let's talk about the journey, how that went.
Yeah. Okay. So when I joined a PhD, the first thing was me and my guide, we decided we will work only for 3 years. We will make small objectives, achievable objectives, which can be done or achieved in 3 years. So that was the first thing which we first saw. And then since I said like I had a break in career, then we also thought we would apply for the Women Scientist grant, which is given by the DST for women in a career break due to maternity or marriage or shift of place, whatever it is. So, so that was what was idea and that's when we started applying for the grants also. And yeah, so so I wanted to finish this in 3 years, but I got my first grant money after 3 years.
Okay.
So that's how it is. We plan for something and something else happens. So the first 3 years usually college gives a stipend. So first is when we have self sustenance, we can contribute to something else. When we are not able to manage ourselves, then our basic needs are not met. Obviously, our mind is disturbed, and then you will not be able to contribute to research or whatever that is you want to do. So we ensure that that was kept steady. So the university was good enough. It supported by giving a monthly stipend, and then it used to give a yearly allowance for some consumables. And we made our objectives to be finished with that. But then still my objective was to do whole exome sequencing in the year 2016. So that I think 2015 was when Illumina was introduced to the world itself. And I was sitting here in Chennai, and it was a little over ambitious, but then I thought I could do it. So 2016, I wanted to do whole exome sequencing for a family which had five samples. So one sample's cost was 50,000 plus tax at that time. But then, so roughly it was around 2.5 lakhs with tax. So the first step or the first risk I took for a PhD was I pledged my jewels for this. So I had pledged my jewels, got this 2,005 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs, with a positive attitude that I would get my grant sometime later, and I could replace it. So that's how I started my PhD journey. Obviously, it was difficult, but then this was the first hurdle which I had to face. So even the grants doesn't happen overnight. We have to keep applying, and then giving interviews. It is going to take its own time. But then still, since we wanted to finish it, I cannot delay my process also. A university gives you time only for 5 years, so I had to start doing this. So this was the first thing I got. There used to be small issues here and then, but then the focus was clear. Like you just suggested, the motivation to start PhD was clear, and my objectives were also clear. We had three objectives, and it was very clearly set. No, that's the start. And so I was sure that I would be able to complete my first objective with this.
So clarity in the topic is one thing which is very important to start with PhD.
Planning and clarity. So time management is very important. So
this
I
is something.
had to time and money was something which I had to manage there.
So this is something which we always tell all the researchers in India, that monetary issues are such a big thing in most of the institutes, either at national level or at state level, that sometimes the funding goes so delayed in sense that the researcher is getting money of 6 month stipend, salary, whatever we say. It comes once in 6 months. So you have to learn monetary management also, which I always say that with the positive attitude, you can see that it is the like development of a PI inside a PhD student, that how will you manage your funds when you have that grant. And here, when you mentioned that you got your first grant after the third year, I'll start with the point as being an over ambitious researcher. Okay. What was the role of the support from the family and the role of the PI when you decided that you are ready to, handle your own gold for your experiments? How was that?
Okay. Family, I promised my family I will return it, it's on my head. So they were okay. So it's without family support, because like I just mentioned, it was post-maternity. Without my family support, I couldn't have ventured into this. So, they knew I am starting something like this. And I told them, post PhD, the opportunities are heavy. And my parents knew that the opportunities are bigger after that. So, so they just trusted my words that, I would be replacing my loan or whatever it is. It's just like more like an education loan. I've just pledged my gold. So I told them it's on me and I'll get it done, and they were okay with it. My PI just I somehow, my positive attitude was influenced. It influenced my PI too. She said I'm taking a risk, but then when she saw my confidence, she didn't want to hamper it. She said, okay, then go ahead and do it.
So now the second thing is about the government role in supporting female researchers in India?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
nowadays we started talking about females in India, female
Mm-hmm.
in STEM, women in
Mm-hmm.
STEM. And
Yes.
what are your thoughts about this topic? That do we need to have these discussions? And if yes, then how it is helping the women in STEM in a positive way?
Okay. So post my PhD journey as a women scientist awardee and also being a women entrepreneur, I have been giving this talks, a lot of this talks on this angle very lately. I still think it is little more required because as far as the tier one cities are concerned, especially in the southern India, southern parts of India like Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala, I think women are being supported already by their family and peers and everything. But if you go a little more deeper inside, I've had girl students who come forward after my talk and tell me, "Ma'am, I really want to do, and I'm still at lost. I don't know how to start or where to start." And they're not even aware that government is got certain schemes just for women or female candidates who want to pursue something in STEM. They really do consider deserving women candidates, and the government is ready to support them. So, once, like I said, once, the female candidate can support herself and her family financially, I think it wouldn't be a burden. The family might allow them to go ahead and also support their endeavors. So this awareness is very, very minimum. Even in the tier one, I wouldn't say everybody is really aware of it. Even with so many opportunities, so many grants available, the percentage of women in STEM in India is still less.
Okay, so now this is for all the women researchers who are interested in pursuing research in India and are facing challenges at different levels. If you want Empowering Science Foundation to help you, to put you in contact with our researcher celebrities like Dr. Janani, and we have other panelists also who are there to help you. The only thing required from your side is motivation and this zeal that you are ready to sacrifice some of the things. Like you have to move out of your comfort zone. Like in most of the cases when we see that family is not very supportive of moving you out of one city to another one, we always try to put you in touch with the people in your city if possible. But if it is not, and if you are dedicated, you are ready to take these chances. Now, I would like to ask Dr. Janani that when moving from one place to another in India, if you have done this, how was that move? And then what were the challenges which you also have shared with, all these students you are talking about, then when they come and tell you that till where you see that this as a limitation?
Mm, Can you rephrase it a little more? I think
I'm
didn't broke in
saying
between.
that when students come to you and they really want to pursue research, but
Mm-hmm,
because of the
mm-hmm,
family limitations that
mm-hmm,
they are not allowed to move from one city to another, what are the
mm-hmm.
opportunities they have and how they should approach it?
Yeah. So necessary. It is not very essential that you will have to move from one city to another. So it comes in another way. Like if you are an awardee of a grant, so in case you have a fellowship, mentors are ready to help you. So
Yeah.
you can find a university or a college at your in your surrounding place itself
Mm-hmm.
to pursue whatever you really want to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving around is actually not very essential. That is going to be really a big, it's a big task that you cannot
Yeah.
do. So, but then, like for example, the SRM University where I had did my PhD is a 1.5 hour travel from where I reside. But then,
Mm-hmm.
when you were just talking about the comfort zone, I had to do the travel. I couldn't shift to a place near my university. Two
Mm-hmm.
things. I had a 6 months old baby when I started my PhD, and I was
Mm-hmm.
dependent on my parents for it. Now, if I'm shifting, I have to shift my parents, my grandparents who are living with them, my brother. It's just really not possible to get it done. So
Right.
I took an extra mile. I traveled the kilometers morning and evening, and also, like I said, it's the baby is small. It's a small baby, so the feeding, the pumping of breast milk, everything happened. But then I was able to do it. I just found time to do it. So if you really have the motivation, I think you can accommodate from wherever you are to get it done.
So to touch upon on this, that when we say about commitment and dedication, how come like it is seen very rarely that students when they are talking to their PIs or would be supervisor for PhD, joining them with a kind of strong statement that okay, we have to complete it in 3 years. So from
Mhm,
where you got that much of I will say strength, because we have seen in India PhD spilling over for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years have been it is
mhm,
not something which is very uncommon, although lately it is
mhm,
changing. But when a person like with your determination walks into the room of the would be supervisor and then start negotiating the terms, how was that experience, and how you have seen the recent students who are coming and approaching you, what you guide them
mhm,
that setting a timeline like 3 years for a PhD, how
mhm.
practical it is?
Yeah. So I would always call PhD a journey. It is not an achievement. It is not a discovery. So,
Mm-hmm.
your MTech just equips you with basic knowledge, and PhD should equip you with, with the talent of how to use that knowledge. Or you get better hands on. You get an expertise in one particular area. So, the one thing over here, we're not going to make any discoveries at the end of your PhD, and
Mm-hmm.
the minimum timeline for a PhD will be 5 years. You will have to plan, like I said, you plan it for 3 years, you will end up at it in 5 years. So that's how it happens. So so when I told this to ma'am, like, I want to finish it in 5 years so that we start something next. Maybe I was lucky, but then she was broad-minded enough to accept that. And also universities. Give you a timeline of 5 years only. If you don't finish it within 5 years, they question you. And then when she saw I had a clarity in what I wanted to achieve, so she understood 3 years is going to take 5 years, and I told her yes, that is going to happen. But then my objectives will be only for 3 years, so that that. Plus or minus the 2 years will match for it, and then even because the PIs are put under pressure if they don't finish it within 5 years. So that's, if you speak to the guides or the mentors around in the city, you would get to know about that. So I think she was okay with this.
So now we come to the next step of your journey after
Mm-hmm,
accomplishment of PhD. In India, we have
mm-hmm,
seen this recently that people want to go out of India
mm-hmm,
for brief intro, like, just research exposure or to settle there. We have seen
mm-hmm.
this, and then we do talk about brain drain. What made you think to be in India as a first, and then we'll talk about the entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Uh, so one thing which made me stay here was it was from a very young age. My dad's an NRI. Okay, I grew up outside India until my schooling. So until schooling, I was outside, and I came to India after that. But then when I came here, the opportunities and whatever we could explore here was even more higher. It was really broad. It was open. And the really one point which made me decide I should stay back is my grant. Okay? So the grant is being obtained from the government of India, which is again in turn the money from people of India. So
Yeah.
when I had looked it up to for a research, I thought this should be translated to at least first to the people of the ones who have actually funded my research. So that was my first thing. So it should be translated to the same country, and so that's when I thought this should be done for the Indian people. And second thing also, my PCOS journey was from Indian samples again. So I didn't want research to remain as just research. I wanted it to be translated to the society. So, like I said, there's no discoveries, but then, whatever I could discover at the end of my journey, I thought I should take it to the society. And like I said, that was a motivation. I saw PCOS women in the clinic suffering. I wanted to help them. So, I wanted to start it with the Indian people. So that is where I started. I was very sure, I would do it in India. And yes, my grant was the major thing. It made me stay back.
Okay, so now coming to the entrepreneurship part of it, we have seen at least a start of a culture where a PhD student, after completing or during their PhD, they come up with an idea and then they want to translate that idea into serving the society, or in your case, we can see that research to serve society. Okay. How that idea came to your mind in the first place, and then if you can share the journey till now, that how it is going.
Yeah. Okay. My company GeneAura, we call it a complete genomic solution. So like I said, my journey or my PhD was based on whole exome sequencing, which is called next generation sequencing. And it was introduced by Illumina in 2015, and I started my journey in 2016, which was we were very nascent here. I learned it the hard way. I have learned it in coffee shops, in hotels. Whenever foreign scientists visit Chennai, I used to connect them over LinkedIn. I used to just ask them for some time, and they were really good enough to explain things over a Zoom call or through mails. And I've actually been, I've been helped by a lot of scientists around the world to understand what exome sequencing is, how the data analysis is done. So I've done everything by myself. I've not outsourced it. I did everything by myself. So I learned it the hard way. Like I said, I learned it, at different places. This is after this journey of learning and everything, I wanted it, to be translated to the people here. So I started mentoring people who started doing NGS and all that. Now, apart from this, once I finished my PhD, during my PhD, so I was my samples were PCOS women. Like I said, I got to interact with a lot of PCOS women. I have spoke to at least 1,500 to 2,000 women, young adults, not even women, young women and women with PCOS. And something which I found out from them was that there was no awareness. And being on the genetic engineering side and on the humans genetic side, one area where we could actually get in touch with a client or a patient is through genetic counseling. Okay. So that genetic counseling, I don't know if you have heard of the term before. Maybe since you're in the US, it might be really common. But then it was really new. The term was really new in India. So and that is where we would be able to help a lot of humans understanding their own genetic makeup. So this genetic counseling awareness was missing. So when I wanted to venture into this genetic counseling, I had learned it again the hard way, because we don't have a structured course in India as far as it's concerned right now. So I had done interns at small places, where they're practicing genetic counseling for some particular disorder. So to be on the top head, I need to know everything. So I had done it at small places. And one thing which I noticed was, so when I went to a center in Chennai, we had people from Ramnad and Kanyakumari coming just to Chennai just for the genetic counseling. So that 1 hour of genetic counseling, they have to travel 2 days, from Kanyakumari to here. The whole family, it might be the whole family, the mother, father, and the child who is affected with the genetic disorder. They have to come here, book a room, stay here, get an appointment with the genetic counselor, meet them, talk to them, find out what might be their solution. So they might have to spend 3 to 4 days here for the room, food, and everything. And then they have to go back. Sometimes the children are not mobile. The parents carry 13-year-old children, 15-year-old children, they have to carry them. They don't come with a wheelchair access from Kanyakumari itself. So it's difficult. So when I saw this, And I wanted to take this to tier 2 and tier 3 cities to make genetic counseling and genomics accessible to every people of India. So I would say proudly we are the first to start a genetic clinic in Madurai. So Madurai is a center place where Ramnath, Kanyak, they all reach within 2.5 hours or 3 hours. They can come in the morning and go back in the evening. So I
Mm-hmm.
started one genetic clinic in Madurai and one in Trichy is there. I visit there. I mean, I have a staff, but then I also visit there almost every week. And so this has made genetic counseling more accessible to these people. And yes, my own struggles were there when I had to create awareness, but then I took a little more easier route. When I went and spoke to the clinicians, I told them, we're a little more closer. You don't have to send
Mm-hmm.
your patient all the way till Chennai. We're a little more closer. You try to make it for us. And I think the clinicians were also supportive in this. So there are patients I'm seeing in Madurai. This was the story behind my, why I wanted to do this startup. And when we call ourselves the complete genomic solution, so since I know where we start in the wet lab for the NGS and until the interpretation, I do a little more on the interpretation because if you have known the genetic report is not just positive or negative, it says
Mm-hmm.
pathogenic, uncertain,
Yeah.
likely pathogenic, then I. So
Mm-hmm.
and then most of the time it's uncertain for Indian data because we don't have an Indian database.
Mm-hmm.
Always I will have to interfere in the case and help them. So I mean, help them interpret that report in a in a meaningful way. So this has been happening, and I'm happy I could do
Nice. So now we'll talk about the situation of genetic counseling in India and using your genomics, the training you got in your PhD, how you have seen the field changing over a period of 5 years or 10 years. Because when you started your PhD, the Illumina just came to the field. Now people are talking about NGS in so many ways, but your approach to help these people. So first question will be how you see the situation building up in India for genetic counseling in general public.
that. Okay. Currently, um, genomics in clinical practice has taken up, is scaled up extremely. And I would say there are so many diagnostic labs giving out a lot of genetic testing. And then DBT has opened up a lot of fellowship programs for clinicians to understand where they might have to refer a genetic testing and where they might have to refer to a genetic counselor. So that information is being taught to the clinicians who are already in practice. And I think there are also talks of including one genomics paper for the clinicians, the upcoming clinicians. So genetics is becoming a part and parcel of the clinical community. And moreover, one thing which I see in the tier 1 cities or, not just tier 1, even tier 2 and all, when with the, in advent of the social media, there is a lot of awareness on genetic testing which is being done, a lot of personalized medicine which is happening, and then the personalized nutrition diet and all that, with that also on the genetic testing. Though in India we know our roots, we don't actually consider much of the hereditary testing, but then this personalized routine and the health wellness, all that is also coming.
Okay. So now okay, what is the biggest challenge you have faced serving as genetic counselor?
Awareness is the is the biggest challenge,
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's a lot of genetic testing happening in the country, but
Mm-hmm.
very minimal genetic diagnosis happening in the country.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, the reports are not very straightforward, and most of the patients who walk into my clinic, they have multiple exome sequencing reports with the same result, and they don't have an answer yet. So I have seen
Okay.
some patients like that. So there is a protocol for genetic testing to happen according to the American Medical Genetics Society, and
Mm-hmm.
there they emphasize something on the pre-test and then the testing and then the post-test, or at least they involve a geneticist and a genetic counselor in the whole circle But currently, since we are very less in number, I think it is just now that hospitals and the clinicians have started including us in their circle. So currently in Chennai, I consult in almost the bigger hospitals like MGM, the SRM groups, all the SRM group hospitals, and Madurai and Trichy also. So it's just slowly building up. But then I think genetic counselors, a certified genetic counselor and a geneticist would definitely gain a place in the routine practice.
So now when we do talk about building up the database in India, which is not very strong build, and you have to compare your data with all the other world, origin, and we know that in genome there are so many changes with the race and with their genetic background. So now when you started your company, GeneAura, you started with an idea that you are giving solution to these problems. So
Yes.
how is that going?
Yeah, so every solution is unique because every problem is again is unique. But then with like I said, with the hard way learning which I had done from different bioinformaticians around the world who helped me with my data analysis, that has given me insight. So like I said, PhD was my learning journey for this. So I had learned how to do things, and we do have guidelines on making these reports more actionable by the ACMG, the American College of Medical Genomics. So they've given guidelines. If there's an uncertain variant, how do you make it more actionable? What are the ways a geneticist should follow to confirm that variant? If it is pathogenic or if it is benign, how do you make it actionable? And so all these guidelines are given. They are framed by the American board. Just that you match it to the Indian scenario and you give it to the patient.
Mm-hmm. So now when we do talk about the new way, like I see this as a new generation of counseling, like medicine. When people are talking about personal medicine, you are talking about
Mhm.
genetic counseling in India, which is now coming up and building with the help of researchers like you who are motivated and committed to this. But for our audience, I would like to ask you that the networking, the building, this networking which you built over LinkedIn, as you mentioned, learning in coffee shops and hotels. If you can elaborate that to motivate our researchers who might not be aware of this, because we have seen people working in the labs all the time, not
Mhm.
contacting even the PIs within the institute, either because of the
Mhm.
clashes between PIs, or they are afraid of their supervisors, that how they will take it. But you
Mhm.
started doing this with it, like during your PhD, and not only in India but people from abroad also.
Mhm.
What you can share with them?
Yeah. So I would always tell my juniors, it is easy to network when you're a student. It
Mm-hmm.
is very easy. It is not easy for me to network now. They have a different view when they see me. Now I'm an entrepreneur, maybe a director of a company. So it's always on the business thoughts. When I ask them something, they don't take it genuinely as a research question. They think it's for some business ideas. But it's always the easiest or the best time to network, to create a good network is when you're a student. And the like you said, obviously there are clashes and everything, but then when you're clear with what you want, and that doesn't come easily. Okay, so when I started, I said I wanted to do exome sequencing. I had no idea of what is exome sequencing, but extensive reading, the sources are available on the internet. We can read it was not like the earlier days. We do have a lot of papers. You try to read them, and definitely your PI would be able to help you if you don't understand something. That's why they are PI. Their experience would tell them. But some new technologies which is beyond their hands, it is of their interest also to learn that. So it becomes
Yeah.
interesting for them also. So when you read exactly, and you can identify or interpret what you can do until what you have understood and what you can do, and what is it that you know, or what is it that you should know what you don't know. That is when you start getting questions. And when you have clear cut questions and you put them forward to other PIs, since it's not vague and since they know you're coming with a clarity, they will definitely help you out. They're again sitting as PIs and professors around the world. Their aim is again they're in the professor role just to nurture other younger generations. They want to
Yes.
share their knowledge. They want to nurture the next generation, so that they take it. The legend keeps following. So that is something which they want to do always. So when you have just when you put a very vague question, they understand that you're wasting their time. But then when you tell them what
Mhm.
you've done and clarity is there in your question, and so for that you should be clear first. Your knowledge should be built
Yes.
up first. You should do
Mhm.
extensive research or extensive reading, because whatever we're doing is research, not discovery. So
Mhm.
something is already available there. We're just developing on it. So you should be aware of
Mhm.
what is exactly available, get a clarity on what you want more, and then ask your elders or seniors. They would definitely help you out.
Nice. So here I would like to take a moment to talk to all the audience here who are PhD students or planning to, make this transition from PhD to whatever they want to do in their future. As Dr. Janani just mentioned, this is the best time you can easy do all the networking without getting any other add on to it. Like as Dr. Janani also said that now if she approaches someone, no matter how basic the question is, only about research, people will see her affiliation and then will start coming up with the thoughts that it might be of beneficial, a monetary benefit, or it is IPR related, intellectual properties. But when you are a PhD student, the world is there to help you. You might write 10 emails, you might then get response of 4 of them, and 1 or 2 might be, willing to help you. But you should not stop yourself doing that just because 6 or 8 were not very supportive of your idea. Because what we have learned in today's conversation from Dr. Janani, all you need to have the clarity in your idea. If you have that, then you will make sure by putting all of your efforts. In her case, she did a lot, more than the ordinary researchers, like putting the gold at stake, and then with all the permission from family and PI's supervisors support, she's where she is today. But that's when you come as a role model. That's when people learn from your actions. Now, whosoever will watch this probably are open that, okay, if I know I have some piece of, any immovable property or whatever, and if I can, for time being, I can utilize this for my use. And then, as she was confident, she has done this. Now she is an entrepreneur running the company successfully, helping people, following her passion for research, and still, being more content about it. So now I'll talk to Dr. Janani about the sense of accomplishment when you feel as a researcher.
Yeah. I think research is a fire, It is still not yet down. So whatever contributions I have done to PCOS, I'm not. It is just a beginning of a new avenue. So like I said, we were able to identify some pathologies behind PCOS. Now I didn't stop with that, and then I'm utilizing currently my company's funds to continue my research. So where I am trying to help the PCOS women with simple lifestyle managements, so to reverse their condition. So this is something which I've, taken my research a little one more step forward, and bringing it to I thought they should be brought to the society, and this is how I'm doing it. So I don't think I'm happy where I am now, but then I'm still not satisfied. I want to go a little more. I might do a little more in completing whatever I've started.
And this is a researcher. We always say once a researcher, always a researcher. It won't
Always a
let you
researcher,
sit.
yeah.
It won't let you sit easily and, becoming comfortable with your situation.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
what we
more than
always.
any business MOUs, a research proposal, excites me.
Yes, absolutely. And now, when we are coming toward the edge of the conversation, I would like to know your suggestions and recommendation to researchers who are doing their PhD and have these ideas where they think that it should be translated. What are the opportunities they have and what they should explore?
Okay. So that is very, very important because like this is my personal feeling. It shouldn't be left in the lab, a research, with all due respect and all due permissions from their mentors. They should take whatever they have and they must be able to translate it. And India is very, very welcoming in this. We have n number of schemes in the startup India and from the central government, state government, every MSMEs, everybody is ready to support entrepreneurs. And with all the support, still the number of patents from India are less, and
Mm-hmm.
the number of publications from India are less. We stand third in the publication range. So, this is the only researchers can contribute to this economic growth of the country. They are the ones who invent in be it any field, starting from food, the food chain recovery till the military, the national defense. It is the researchers who are contributing, and that they shouldn't do a research just for the sake of a degree or just for sake of one publication. But in
Yes.
my opinion, I think researchers are the backbone of a society, of an economy. They should be able to translate it. And definitely, they have a lot of support. Through, I think until the first 5 years, the Startup India considers every startup like a baby. It is ready to give them funds for every step. Every step they get a discount on patent filing. They get a discount on the GSTs, whatever it is. GSTs are payable. I think some of the taxes, there are some relaxations. So me being a technical person, I didn't go too much into it, but I know I mean every month I'm writing for some of the other grants just for the startup grant. So
Mhm.
every week we do have new startup grants just coming up. So leave out the venture capitals or angels or investors who want to invest in India, but that's a different story. But then the government is ready to support every startup, every idea. If it is really feasible, they're ready to support idea. If it's not feasible and it's a good idea, they're ready to mentor and then support the idea too. So we have a lot of incubators or anything. This is a very big list. You can anytime connect with me with anybody who wants to know of this. But then there are a lot of incubations which then mentor their ideas and then take it to a funding stage, to a grant stage. So there are people who do that also. There are experts sitting in the panel helping young minds just out of their degrees, to bring a shape to their ideas.
Nice. Thanks. So now we'll say thanks to Dr. Janani for sharing this journey as well as this motivation, which I believe that most of the researchers, and now this is for the audience, that if you have an idea, you are a PhD student, you can contact Dr. Janani directly, or if you want Empowering Science Foundation to bridge this gap between your idea and our researcher celebrities, please write it to us, and then we are there to help you. The only thing now I can sum up from Dr. Janani is like, if you have clarity in your idea, you should take your research to serve the society and give it to back. And with this, I will say to researchers, stay tuned, stay the fire up, and thank you very much, Dr. Janani, for this enlightening journey with us.
It's my pleasure, sir. It's a great work what you and your team are doing. Definitely, this is required for because Indians are known for their brains, and we have a lot of ideas in our country. It has to be nurtured to really big, successful, not just in the country but in the world. So it's a really great step. Whatever you and your team are doing, I'm very happy to be a part or able to contribute to it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Janani, for your kind words. And this is our small token to give back to our society, because whenever we talk about our series Researcher Celebrities, most of the well-established professors, researchers, they are afraid of calling us that. And when we try to say that the idea behind Researcher Celebrities is let's celebrate research. And every single researcher is a celebrity for us.
That's really nice, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have